Well, good morning. It's 8 a.m. here in Singapore, 9 in the evening in Rio de Janeiro, where it's been announced that Russia will be excluded from the Paralympics, which takes place next month. The International Paralympic Committee says it took the decision because of what it called the country's state-sponsored doping program. Our sports reporter Chris Mitchell is in Rio with all the very latest. Chris.
Yes, and wouldn't the International Olympic Committee love for me to be telling you right now about what's going on in there, in the Olympic Park? But yet again, it is doping that overshadows these games, but in a strange way. Because today, in a news conference here in Rio, the head of the International Paralympic Committee made that dramatic announcement that Russia would be excluded from the Paralympic Games next month. Not a lot of people saw that coming. They were working on the information from the same report that the International Olympic Committee were working from. Remember the McLaren report commissioned by WADA. It suggested that Russians should be banned entirely from the Olympic Games going on behind me. But the IOC chose a different path. They chose to allow some of the Russians here. In fact, there are 271 of them. There won't be any, as it stands, at the Paralympic Games next month, although the Russians have said they will appeal. Now, Sir Philip Craven, he's the head of the IPC. He didn't mix his words at all. In fact, he was calm, but he was very strong in his condemnation of Russia.
The anti-doping system in Russia is broken, corrupted, and entirely compromised. The Paralympic movement is one giant family, and I had hoped that something like this would never rear its ugly head in our movement. Everything we have observed goes against the very spirit of sport and everything the Paralympic movement stands for. This is why we feel that we had no option but to take this action. Tragically, this situation is not about athletes cheating the system, but about cheating the athletes.
His words could not have been stronger, really, could they? Quite a stunning news conference earlier here in Rio. Let me give you some kind of idea of what this means for the Paralympic Games next month. It means that one of the biggest teams won't be here. Moreover, Russia came second in the medal table at the London Games in 2012 with over 100 medals. So how do the athletes feel about this? It's a very tight community, the Paralympic community, and the athletes all know one another. But we've spoken to one, Liz Johnson, and she says she supports the decision.
This blanket ban on the Russian athletes at the Paralympic Games is a huge decision, and I feel massively for those athletes that are clean that are now not going to have the opportunity to compete on that level. But it does reassure me that the Paralympic movement does have the integrity of the sport and the movement as a whole at the heart of all of its decisions.
Well, welcome back to Rio. That is the news that the International Olympic Committee would not have wanted you to be hearing right now. They want us to be concentrating on the Olympic Games that are going on behind us. You can see the tennis courts there, and we'll talk about that in just a moment because there's been action going on in there all day. But I want to take you somewhere else first, because the road race was once again very dramatic indeed. This time it was the turn of the women. Anna van der Breggen won the race, the Dutch rider, and she did so in very dramatic fashion. It was a photo finish. Before that, her teammate Van Vleuten crashed. She was leading with around 12 kilometres to go. It was an horrific crash. She has been taken to hospital. She does have serious injuries, but she's conscious and stable, we understand. Asian success too. Now, after golds for Thailand and Vietnam on day one, South Korea's women archers have taken the team event title. They have since it was introduced. That's 8 successive Olympics. And Woo Mingxia has got her fifth Olympic title, and she got that with victory in the synchronized diving. She won the 3-meter springboard. You can see her now with her partner Xing Mao. She is the first diver to have 5 Olympic golds. At the other end of the park, you can see in the distance perhaps, that is not where the diving takes place, it's where the swimming takes place. And later on in there we hope, get our first chance to see Michael Phelps. He already has 18 gold medals at an Olympics. Does he really want any more? Yes, he does. He's come out of retirement and he looks absolutely fantastic, I must say. He could be going in the free relay later tonight. Katie Ledecky is another one for you to look out for. I mention her because at London 2012, she won gold, surprisingly, just 15 years old. And she is nailed on looking at the form to perhaps pick up 3 individual gold medals here. And the first one of those, she's already won a silver in the relay last night, but the first individual one she could get tonight in the 400 metres freestyle. If you look at the statistics, my word, no one will be able to stop her. Let me tell you about the tennis. Something quite dramatic has happened in that court behind me there. Something you might not expect, because they're sisters, you know them well. They're 3-time Olympic champions. They are, of course, Serena and Venus Williams. Get this, they've been beaten for the first time at an Olympic tournament. Beaten 6-3, 6-4 by the Czech Republic's Lucy Safarova and Barbara Strykova. Now, they entered the match with a 15-0 career record at the Games. They won gold medals in the doubles every time they entered. 2000, 2008 and 2012. But look at the looks on those faces there. They tell the story, don't they? They were seeded #1, but they have been beaten. A dramatic story, and they wave goodbye to the doubles. It's all over for the Williams sisters. There's been some drama here, there's been some good sport, but the main story is one that doesn't concern the Olympics. It concerns the Russians. They will not be at the Paralympic Games. They've been excluded.
All right, Chris Mitchell there with all the very latest and about the Williams.